it's Rhonda here from Funky Freaks again. As promised, I am going to make a vintage styled granny square. I posted a video on some ideas of different colorways for blankets that I had made using this style and this granny square. So what I've done is I've collected up all my pieces of scrap yarn, and I've chosen, they've all come out of this box here. I keep all the different sort of colors that go together in different boxes, and these are all the greens. There's lots of very tiny tiddly bits here. I don't throw anything away. Some are really pale, almost verging on white, but they are green. And some of them, like this one here, and there's another, that one there, these are actually wool. So I'm not going to use those purely because I want to keep this, that's a cotton one there as well. I want to keep it all acrylic. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use these. What is important though when you're doing this is that you have fairly decent amounts of yarn so that you can finish the granny in quite a large size. We're going to do quite a few rounds. We're going to be using a 6mm hook. Oops, there we go, 6mm hook there. And I'm also going to be using some plain white acrylic yarn. Okay, so to start I have selected a very pale green yarn and my white, and I'm going to work these two together. Now you can form a magic ring, or you could do a 4-chain loop, and all you would do is slip stitch the two ends of your chain together to form a loop. So having done my magic ring and chained one, I'm going to chain 2 and place 2 double crochet, that's US terms, 2 double crochet in the center of the ring. Oopsie. Trying to keep my 2 pieces of yarn together, and that gives me 3 double crochets. So my chains at the beginning will act as a double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to put a cluster of 3 more. Just get that yarn out of the way. 3 more double crochets in the center of the ring. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to pull up the yarn ends on my magic ring just a little bit, just to close the magic ring up a little bit, make it a bit easier. And you can start to see already that the 2 chains form the corner of the granny. We're going to do another cluster of 3 double crochet. And chain 2 for another corner. And then another cluster of 3 double crochet. So we now have 4 sides, 4 clusters, 4 sides, and our corners. I'm going to finish off our last corner with a chain 2 and a slip stitch in the top of the first starting chain. So if you want to make sure where that is, there's your one of your DC stitches, and there's the V for the top of that. There's another DC stitch, and there's your V at the top of the stitch, and there's your chain. So your V will be at the top of that. So slip stitch to the top of that. Okay, that completes round 1. You can pull up the ends on your magic circle, pull those tight and close that up if you like. Okay, so that's our first round. Now I don't have an awful lot of this pale pink, but I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to add another colour in, and I'm going to add one that is a little bit darker, just to contrast it a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do now is turn our work, chain 3, and we're going to put 2 double crochets into this corner space, scooch that over a bit. Then we're going to chain 2. Now that first chain acts as a double crochet, so 1, 2, 3, there's a cluster of 3 again, chain 2, and to complete the corner we're going to put another cluster of 3 in the same corner space. 1. Now here we go. Here is where I run out, so I'm just going to join the new colour just with a knot. And then I'll just continue. So I have 1 DC so far, I need another 2. And that knot is hidden quite nicely underneath the work, underneath the knot there. Okay, so that's that first corner done. And then we're going to chain 1 this time across the side, working into our next corner with 3 double crochets. Chain 2. I'm going to move all these yarns out the way because I'm getting in my work. And finishing the corner, another cluster of 3 double crochet in the same corner space. So mixing in the white yarn gives it a sort of variegated look, so you don't have this really solid colour. Chain 1 along the side, and then working into the next corner space with 3 double crochet. Chain 2, 3 double crochet. So I'm going to continue, and I shall meet you back when I've finished all sides and all corners. Okay, so I've finished each of those, and I'm back to the starting 3 chain. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the starting 3 chain, and I want to get into my corner, so I'm going to slip stitch across until I get to my corner space. I shall slip stitch into my corner space and then start again. So chain 3, 2 double crochet, chain 2, three double crochet, chain 1. Now we have a space in here between the corners. We're going to place 3 double crochet in there, and a chain 1, and back to a corner for 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochet, chain 1. There's another gap, so we want 3 double crochets in there, and chain 1. So basically your corners will have 2 chains, but between each cluster there will be 1 chain. Okay, so there's a cluster there, 1 chain, cluster, 1 chain. Come to the corner, you'll have 2 chain. Cluster there, 1 chain, cluster there, 1 chain. You'll come to your next corner and that will be 2 chain. So if you continue around, and I'll be back when I'm finished. Okay, so I'm just about to finish the round. I'm back to my start. I have my 3 chain. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my 3 chain. And I need to get over to my corner, so I'm going to slip stitch across the next 2 double crochet. And slip stitch into the corner. Chain 3, double crochet 2, chain as we're in the corner, and to finish the corner 3 double crochet, chain 1. Now we're going to have 2 gaps between each corner, so we're going to complete the corner, 3DC in a gap, 3DC in a gap, complete the corner, 3DC, 3DC, complete the corner, and continue around. Remember to chain 1 in between each 3D cluster. Chain 1, then do another 3D cluster. So continue with that pattern and I'll meet you back when you're finished. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of that round. I'm going to slip stitch in the top of my original chain 3, starting chain 3. And as I need to go into the corner, I am going to slip stitch across the top of those 2 double crochets. And then slip stitch into the corner and chain 3 and continue around. So the pattern is very simple, the pattern is very straightforward, and what you need to do to get the size that I had for the blanket, I mean you could do this any size you like really, you need to have, at the moment we have a corner, 2 double crochet clusters and a corner. You're going to make this square, granny square, big enough so that you have 3 more, 5 clusters in between each corner space. So there'll be corner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another corner. Okay, so keep going round. I'll count at the moment. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 colours plus my white, 4 colours already in here. With the tiny knots that I've made, it's managed to pull in underneath the work, so that's hidden really, really well. So if you finish doing those, I will show you then how I join my granny squares together. So these are the 2 granny squares that I have done. One I've just done sort of a light through to dark in the greens, just to see what that effect would be like, and the other one is more sort of mixed up a little bit. And out of the choices of yarns that I showed you that I was going to use, this is what I've got left here. So but it's still really important, I think, to make sure you've got larger sort of volumes of one colour, so that they go around these bigger rounds here where you've got more stitches. So now if you're making, for example, I used 9 of these in my blanket. I didn't crochet them together, I hand sewed them together. So you would need a darning needle, and I used obviously the common colour theme throughout this is white, so which is easily disguised in these stitches down here. So I'm going to thread up my darning needle and stitch these together, and I'll just show you which parts of the crochet stitches I was working with here. Okay, so I've threaded up my needle, and I weaved the end of my yarn through here and then back up through here, so that I start at one of the corner chains. And basically all I did, I like the ridged effect when I'm joining these together, so I sew together the back, or the part of the V-stitch that's furthest away from you, sort of the back of the V-stitch. And I go from one side, I don't go over the top, I actually go from one side to the other. So I'm matching up my stitches. So that's the sort of second, that's the first chain in the corner, that's the second, and this is the first stitch of my DC cluster. So I'm picking up the back stitch here, and then of the opposing DC here on that side, I'm picking up the back stitch on that one as well and going through. And then back the other way, so the second DC stitch, I'm finding the back of that, and the second DC stitch on this side, I'm finding the back loop, or the loop that's furthest away from you on the V, and pulling through. I don't pull too tight because I don't like to pull it out of shape too much. It doesn't need to be tight. And the third DC in that cluster, picking up that back loop and finding the back loop of the third DC on that side. And I'm making sure that I go through all the colours. So if you remember, we worked a green and a white thread together, so I'm making sure that I pick those up. Now I'm in a chain space here, so I'll do exactly the same. I'll pick up one loop of the chain on one side and one loop of the chain on the other side, and then just keep working all the way down. So I'll meet you when we get to the bottom of the squares. Okay, I'm at my last DC. I've just pulled through the yarn from left to right through that last double crochet, and what I want to do is grab the first corner chain loop in here and here, and the second here and here. So I'm covering both corner chain loops in here, and that just helps pull that edge together so it's relatively straight, because when we put the border around the blanket, we want We don't want that to be sort of curved in like that. We want it to be as straight as we possibly can. So I've picked up both of those corner chain stitches there. So you would cut your yarn once you've finished sewing all of your squares together and thread that through before starting your border. What I did was, because I had 9 blocks, I hand sewed 3 blocks down here straight, and then another 3, and then put them all together and just sewed them this way. So that seemed to be the easiest. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but that was easiest for me. I could keep track easily. Okay, so I'm going to cut my yarn and weave in, and I'll meet you back here to show you what I did with the border. Okay, so now that I have sewn all of my squares together, I'm going to create a border all the way around. I'm going to start in the top right hand corner here of my first square in the chain loop. I'm only going to use 1 strand of white yarn, but I'm going to stick with my 6mm hook because I don't want the stitches to be too tight. So I'm just going to touch my yarn with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet into the same space. Just pull that yarn a little bit tight. There we go. Now to complete this round, all we're doing is putting a single crochet into each of the double crochet stitches along the edge. 1, 2, 3. Bear in mind there are 3 in each cluster, and 1 single crochet into the chain space. So you don't have to go into the actual V part of the stitch, just work straight into the gap. Single crochet into the 3 double crochet stitches along the top, and 1 into the chain space. I'm trying not to work too tightly. I am naturally quite a tight crocheter and knitter, so I'm trying to keep these quite loose. If you're worried about that, you could always go up maybe half a hook size to a 6.5 hook or something like that. Oops, missed. Again. There is something on the end that I want to show you here as well. If you remember when we were making the square, we were coming up to the corners and then slip stitching across into the corner. So these slip stitches here are going to be a little bit tight. Now if you want to avoid that, all I suggest you do is rotate your square around so that you're sewing that along the edge here. These ones here, I should have done it really, I didn't think about it. These ones are slip stitches and I've sewn them up, so I'm not going to need to work these, but unfortunately I didn't rotate this square around enough, so I'm going to have to try and squeeze the hook into those slip stitch spaces. They are just a little bit firmer to get your hook into. You should manage it though. I mean, if you are really struggling, go down a hook size. Use my finger now to try and squeeze that in. There we go. And the last one there. Now we're at the corner spaces. What I would like to do to bring those in a little is to single crochet into both of those together. So we're doing 2 together. I'll show you that again. So I'm going to insert my hook into the first corner space, put my yarn over and pull up, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the second corner space, pull the yarn through, and I had 3 loops in my hook, and then just yarn over and pull through all of those 3. and then I'm going to continue working into the top of the 3 double crochets all the way along. And 1 into the chain space. Just get those way out of my view. If I had used the triple or double thickness yarn, you would actually find that the single crochet stitches as you go around start to sort of pucker up a little bit and then create little waves in your work, and it's actually hard to keep your work flat. So just bear that in mind if you're working maybe with a chunky yarn as well. That can happen, so just be aware of that. This is why I've chosen to do a single strand border around. I think sometimes just general experience tells you that as well, if you've been doing this a while. So we're at our first corner. We want to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into the corner. So that's very straightforward, and then just continue down your edge again. And remember, if you come across 2 squares that are joining, do 2 single crochets together, just to create a bridge across the 2 squares. Okay, so I'm going to do this all the way around. So it's a single crochet in each stitch, a single crochet in a chain space, and when you get to a corner, it's single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and when you get to 2 squares touching each other, you want to single crochet together. And I'll meet you back once I get round my work here, and once you've got round yours. Okay, I'm back at the start, and if you remember, we need a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each corner. Now we started with a slip stitch, chain 1, and a single crochet in the same space, which means we already have 1 single crochet in there. So we just need to single crochet into the corner, chain 2, and then slip stitch into that first single crochet, not the chain space, but the actual single crochet. You'll know it's the first one because you have 3 in your double crochets here, so it makes sense that that one on the end is your first single crochet. So just slip stitch into that one there. Okay, then you're going to chain 1, and you're going to single crochet in every stitch across. So single crochet in the same space, so that's in a corner space, and then your 3 double crochets of the previous row, really, obviously, because these are single crochets here, and then all the way across. So this is quite an easy row, this one. You don't have to worry about any decreases or stitches together. So it's a single crochet all the way along, and when you get to the corner, it's a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So if you complete that all the way around your squares, I will meet you back for round 3 of the border. Okay, so I'm back at my starting corner. I've made my last single crochet, my last stitch. I've then single crocheted into the corner, chain 2, and I'm going to slip stitch to my first single crochet just in here. There we go, slip stitch. Now your next round is exactly the same. You're going to need to single crochet in every stitch around, and then you're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in the corners. Now those 3 rows will help sort of pull these squares together and keep them. And as you can see, the edges here are actually nice and straight. There's no puckering. It's sitting really flat. It's actually working really well. So actually having 2 or 3 rows of single crochet helps sort of even your work out a little bit as well. And it also helps even out the little bump, that sort of dip there where these 2 join. That's actually starting to fill out quite nicely there. So 1 more round of that and you won't really notice that bump at all. So I'm going to do a 3rd round of single crochet with chain, single crochet, 2 chain, single crochet in each corner, and I will see you back when I'm finished. Once we've done that, I'll show you the next round, which consists of double crochet stitches. Remember to start this next single crochet round with a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same space. That single crochet, remember, will be 1 in the corner that comes around this side, so you'll end up with a single crochet 2 chain attached to this single crochet here. Okay, so just continue single crocheting across. Okay, so I've completed the 3rd round, or completing the 3rd round of single crochet. I'm going to put a single crochet, chain 2 in the corner, and slip stitch to the first single crochet. That's my chain stitch there, so just be careful not to work into the chain stitch. Single crochet into that, slip stitch into that single crochet, and then we're done. Now for the next round, we're going to be going back to doing 3 clusters of double crochets, and in order to do that we want to chain up 3. This acts as our first double crochet, and that of course will be a double crochet in the chain space. Then what you need to think about at the moment, obviously I'm just putting together 2 squares to show you for the sample. If it depends on how many squares you want to sew together, you could do 9 if you wanted the 9 square vintage style granny blanket that I did. You could do 4, you could do any number, sort of 4 across 4 down, 5 across 5 down, and make it as big or as small as you like. But when you're counting for your double crochets along this row, you can do the math if you want to, or take a rough guess. Sometimes I'll start here at the beginning and count the number of double crochet clusters that I need. Now each double crochet cluster will be separated with a skipped stitch and a chain 1. So I will start my that's my corner, but then I will skip a stitch, chain 1. So I'm going to be skipping this stitch, and as I skip across I want to chain 1 to make sure I've got the distance to skip across. Then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch, and I want 3 in each group or each cluster. So a double crochet in the next, and a double crochet in the next. Then I want to skip the next stitch here. I will then chain 1 to make sure that I have the distance to skip across. Then I'm going to make another 3 double crochets. Now I could just randomly do this all the way along without having counted, but if I wanted just to make sure, I would go skip 1 2 3, 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 skip. And I've actually got 2 stitches left here before I get to my corner double crochet. So I have a choice. I can either decide to jump across those, or put an additional one in and have a 4 cluster at the end there and then skip. It depends, you know, a 4 cluster is not going to be that noticeable, or I might decide that I will add maybe an additional double crochet in here in the middle somewhere, where it won't be anywhere near as noticeable along the seam line. So, but as long as you keep, because everything's lovely and square here, so as long as you keep everything nice and flat and square, and you don't start adding too many stitches in or taking too many away, you can normally roughly squeeze in your 3 with a gap and your 3 with a gap, and continue along. So I'm going to do that. When we get to the corner, you want to add your DCs into the corner there as well. So we'll do a 3 DC and then a chain 2 and a 3 DC into the corner there. Double crochets are much higher, so they have to sort of work around that corner. You need more stitches to get around, basically. So you're going to require 3 DCs, 2 chains, 3 DCs in that corner to get around, and then carry on with your 3 cluster, skip, 3 cluster, skip, 3 cluster, all the way down to the next corner. 3 DC, 2 chain, 3 DC. So if you do that all the way around your work, I will meet you back here when you're done and when I'm done. Okay, so I'm ending my last side and I'm at my corner. I've done a cluster of 3 double crochets, but I don't have an additional stitch to skip. But I am going to chain 1 anyway to create a bit of a fake space. And then I'm going to add 3 double crochets, chain 2, and if you remember, I had a double crochet chain here at the very beginning, so I only need 2 more. And at the moment we have 4 chains. We had the 3 chain for the double crochet, plus we had an additional chain for the space, the skipped space that we had. So we don't want to slip stitch into that 4th one, we want to slip stitch into the 3rd, top of the 3rd chain there, okay, for our 3rd DC, and that brings those 3 together quite nicely with your corner. Okay, so that's actually worked out excuse me, quite nicely. That's still really flat. I'm just checking everything now. There's no puckering, nothing's tight, it all looks pretty good. In the end, when I got to this first corner here, I had a skip stitch here, then space to put 2 double crochets in, and then I just decided, well, I'll do my 3, 2 chain and 3 for the corner. It doesn't necessarily look out of place. It looks, when you look at it sort of flat on like that, it looks fine. When I came to the next corner, I had enough to do 3 instead of 2, and then I did a chain to create a little bit of a space there. So it looks like I've skipped a space. Then I've done my corner. So it actually worked out. I didn't have to add any extras. I didn't, I suppose I skipped 1 here because I just didn't have the additional stitch to go into, but actually I don't think it detracts from it at all. So we have 2 more rows to go. We need to do a last single crochet row all the way around. So you're familiar with that. We're going to be doing a single crochet in every stitch and any chain space along, and we're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in every corner. So where I've ended here, I'm going to do a chain 1, and this, remember, is a double crochet stitch, so I'm going to single crochet in the same space, in the same stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet into the chain space, and then I'm going to carry on single crocheting in every stitch across. Into the space and every stitch. This is a really good beginner project because everything's very repetitive. You get a lot of practice with your stitches. And for people that have been crocheting for a while and have collected up these little yarn stashes, and you're wondering what on earth am I going to do with that lot, this is perfect. This is a great yarn stash buster, and I think the effect is really pretty. If you have a look at my promo video for the blankets that I did, I've got 6 different colours there. They're just so gorgeous. Now I've kept with a colour theme. I've got all blues and all greens and all greys and all, well, reds, autumny colours, reds and beige, oranges and yellows. But you can sort of mix it up a bit. You don't have to stick with one colour block. You could have a rainbow of colours in your granny square. It's entirely up to you. And this granny is so versatile. These ones here, this is obviously, this is what I've done for the blankets. This is the border that I've added for each of the blankets as well. What I'm going to be doing, however, once I've finished this tutorial, I'm going to be using these vintage grannies to make a bag. So hopefully I should get that tutorial on as well once I'm in the process of making it. So coming to the end, single crochet in each of the stitches, including your 3 double crochet corner. So once you've finished that double crochet, then you're going straight in for a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Oh, there we go. Now let's not forget, sometimes your stitches can sort of cover over a little bit. This one's not too bad. The single crochets come very, very close to that stitch. If you have to, just pull that over a little bit so you can see it. But make sure you get the first double crochet there. Okay, so if you complete your single crochet round, I shall meet you back here when we're done. And the last round is going to be a picot round, a decorative border. So, and it's another reason why I've added the additional single crochet row here. It just makes that picot row a little easier to work. So once you've done this, I shall meet you back and we will start on the picot row. Okay, so I'm at the end of that single crochet round, and if you remember at the beginning we made a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same space here as this double crochet, which means that having done my corner, which was a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, I just now need to put 2 more single crochet in here, and then slip stitch to the top, not my chain, slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet. I've done that a bit tight, haven't I? There we go. Like so. So now we are looking at the picot part of the border, the last part. So bear with me, we're on the last stretch. Okay, so from where we finished our last single crochet row, we're going to chain 3 and we're going to start our picot border. So once we've chained 3, we're going to slip stitch back into the base of that chain and then chain 1. Then we skip 2 stitches and we slip stitch into the third one. Then we chain 3 and then we slip stitch back into the base of that chain. Chain 1, I'm going to skip 2 and we're going to slip stitch into the third stitch. Chain 3 and slip stitch back into the base of that chain. Chain 1, skip 2, slip stitch into the third, chain 3, slip stitch back into the base to form your picot, chain 1, and there we have starting to have a little row of picots there. So I want you to do that all the way down to the corner, and then I'll show you what we do when we get to the corner. Just coming up to my first corner here, I have made a chain 3. I will slip stitch into the base of that chain and chain 1. I have 2 stitches left that I can skip, so that means I can comfortably place a slip stitch into my corner. I'm going to chain 3, slip stitch back into the corner and make another chain 3, slip stitch back into the corner and chain 1. Then working the other side, I will skip 2 as normal, slip stitch into the third, chain 3, slip stitch into the base of the chain, chain 1. So that leaves 2 picots in your corner there. That rounds off the corner really nicely. It doesn't pull, it lays nice and flat, as you can see. So you could do that then for every corner. I suppose it's going to depend again very much on how many stitches you have across and what you can squeeze in. So with the other side, we'll just keep going with the picots all the way to the next corner, and so on and so on. And I'll meet you back when we're done. Okay, so I have completed my last 2 picot in my last corner. I have 3 spaces left. I am just going to slip stitch across 2 of those. Cut my yarn. Pull that through, and then I can weave that in when I'm done. That's the blanket. Basically, that's how I made my blanket. This is it's a very simple border, but gee, it finishes it off beautifully. Everything's lovely and even. It draws the squares together so everything lays nice and flat and even. You end up with a lovely finish to your project. Very nice. I really like that. When I get the bag sorted out, I shall show you the video for that as well. This is a really versatile vintage granny square. You could make so many things with it. Blankets and bags certainly aren't, you know, the only things you could make. So thank you very much for watching, and check out the other videos that I have. There's all sorts going on. I have deleted a few old ones. There were some old promo videos that have been laying around for a few years. I've deleted those now. So I'm going to start afresh and get some new projects on the go. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.